And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with the Game Boy Geek.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to be on boats, traveling through different bodies of water, trying to find some mainlands that we can go on and get our deeds done. Today we're looking at Vikings. This is a European strategy type style game from now Z-Man Games. It originally came out in 2007, and in America it was published by Rio Grande, and now Z-Man has picked up the license. They're printing it, and it will be out probably a week after you see this video, if you watch it as it comes out. End of May 2014, this will be live in the stores from Z-Man Games. It takes 60 minutes or less, 45 to 60 minutes I'd say, 2 to 4 players, and you're gonna be, building up your Viking troops with fishermen so you can feed your Vikings at the end of the game. You're gonna have some scouts that are out looking around for things. You're gonna have some goldsmiths that's gonna help you make some money. You're gonna have some nobles that are also gonna get you some points. And you're gonna find some warriors that are gonna help protect you from the bad guys' ships. Let's take it out, let's check it out, see how it looks, and I will see you on the other side. So here we have Vikings, we have the main board set up, and then everyone's going to get their own little board that they will be building over the game. Depending on the amount of players, we'll tell you how much money you get to start. $20 or $20 with 4 players, and there's the money there. The money is pretty cool in this game, is when you flip it over, it's got little faces of Vikings on them, which is a nice little touch. And this is a starting player marker, which is a cool little ship you can pass around. And then everyone gets this starting tile, which you see there on the left, a little Viking emblem on it. And you get this little board that you'll be building tiles and building sort of islands and putting Vikings on them as the game goes on. You also get a nice little player aid that will tell you how large scoring happens and how end of game scoring happens. And this is pretty much how you start the game. Notice I'm the orange player with the orange cube there. And at the beginning of the game, everyone gets to start with 10 fame, which is points in the game, and you see orange and the other 3 colors. The game itself is played over 6 rounds. Whoever has the most points at the end is going to win. So let's set it up for a round. Essentially, the first 12 tiles from the first stack are going to get laid out and be put down from 0 to 11. Once all 12 tiles are laid from 0 to 11, we then pull out 12 Viking meeples from the bag. Now those 12 colored meeples will get put in a specific order around the board. We see here 0. On the board we see 0 here. So what's going to happen is all the blue ones are going to start from 0, which are the fishermen, and then go to goldsmiths, and then go to the scouts, and then to the nobles, and then to the warriors, and then to the boatswains. Now I did want to show you the meeples themselves, because they could have just put regular meeples in there, but they didn't. They made these really cool Viking meeples that have the little horns coming out of their helmets. Nice touch, not just it's, Z-Man going over and above, not just normal meeples, but we're looking at some cool Viking meeples. Now whoever has the first player marker will start, and they can essentially buy any one combination of Viking and tile. Now, there's some rules here. You can never buy the cheapest 0 Viking unless it's the last one of that color. So since there's more blue, I can't buy the free one here. Other than that, you can buy any one you want. So in this case, let's say maybe I bought, this guy for $3. I'd pay 3. I would take both the tile, and the Viking of that spot. Then we will see what we'll do on our board. Well, we have the starting tile, so since it's your first turn, we get to flip this starting tile over, and it's the end of an island. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this here. Now, when you're placing island tiles, first of all, you have to put them right side up. You can't put them upside down. You have to go right side up, and it always has to be ocean meets ocean and land meets land. But in this case, let's put it here, and I have the option of being able to, if I can place the Viking that I bought in the corresponding row, now we see the goldsmith is here, I can place it on the tile that was with that Viking. Sometimes you can't place the Viking on that tile. You can't place that tile, because it's not on the same row. And if that's the case, then the Viking has to go up here into the boatsman. So this will go on out, be the next player's turn, and this wheel stays the same until someone takes the free one. Now again, you can only take the free one if it's the last one there. There's one exception, is if you don't have any money and you can't buy anything else, you could break the rule and take the free one before all the other ones of those free are done. But most of the time, let's say the next person took this, and then the next person took this, and then this is free. We'll say the next person took this one for free. This wheel would automatically spin go here. So now it changes the prices where this one used to be 11 is now 7. So the ones at the you know, the grays and the blacks and the reds are really expensive at the beginning of the turn, but they get less expensive as things get bought up and things get to be free there. And this goes on again. This type of bidding and sort of buying goes on until all 12 of these are gone. Now in a 4-player again, I'd be able to place 3 per turn. So let's say my third buy was the ship with the scout here. Now obviously I cannot put the ship here. It has to go in the ship row. And the ship has to go in one of these 3 spots, and then any other ship afterwards has to be adjacent to it. So you could put this anywhere at first, one of these 3 spots, and then anywhere adjacent, and then these 3 have to get filled up with ships before you move out, because you'll see islands will actually grow further out than this. So let's say I had placed this ship here, just to show you an effect. And of course I can't place this here, so he goes there. Now at the bottom of these piles, it shows you on the end of odd rounds, you're going to do what's called small scoring. At the end of rounds 1, 3, and 5, you're going to do what's called small scoring. The end of the even rounds, you're going to do large scoring. So let's take a look at small scoring. Small scoring says that any goldsmith that's in a row that's not threatened by a ship would score $3. So let's talk about these ships. These ships are basically other ships that are threatening your Vikings. And the way these work is, you look at the color of the sail. This ship would threaten all the way down to the scout, because red is red. Some of them, like this one, is a blue. This guy, if he was here, this person would threaten all the way down through all the people. So if this was the ship I had, this ship only threatens down to here, which means that's how far he gets to threaten, and this guy is still okay, so I would get $3 at the end of this little scoring round. If this ship was here, he threatens all the way down, this guy kind of gets put down to know that he's threatened, and I wouldn't get the $3. Unless I happen to have had, of course this wouldn't have happened in one round because I wouldn't have had this many moves, but if in a future round I have a warrior, he blocks this ship from anybody below it, and this person would no longer be threatened. Now with the tile placement again, sometimes if I had, let's say, a tile here and a tile here. Now again, anytime you place a tile that you've just gotten, it just has to be adjacent to another tile. So if I had this island being built for the scout, this is a valid move because it's at least adjacent to one other tile that's placed, and then I could place him there. Let's say I had bought that warrior a little later. So there's different ways that you can place those tiles. So at the end of the even rounds, we have these large scoring. Let's look at what that does. The first thing we do is we score these, what's called the boatswins. So these are the gray meeples. So remember, if you can't place the Viking on the tile that you bought, they go up here in the boat. If you have any of the gray Vikings, which are the boatswins, at this point what you can do is each one of these, you can place either one of each color onto a tile, assuming it's a legal placement, or as many of one color. So in this case I have one scout and one fisherman. I could use this guy, he comes out of the game, and then I could place this on tiles, assuming they're legal placement. So I could go, oh good, the fisherman could go there, and the scout could go there, right? That's a legal placement, this would go out of the room. And if I had one of each color and I could place them, boom, you could do that as well. Second thing you do is score warriors. And again, warriors, as I told you, score if they are stopping a ship, you get whatever's on the ship. Next we go to scouts. They just simply get you 2 points, assuming they're not threatened by a ship. Sorry, those are the nobles. The nobles get you 2 points as long as they're not threatened by the ship, if you have any on the islands. These scouts get you 1 point plus 1 point for every goldsmith and fisherman directly below them. And again, always if it's not threatened by a ship. In this case, they're not because the warrior is there. And then we have, obviously, the goldsmiths will get you 3. The fishermen do stuff at the end of the game that I'll tell you about. So you do all of that scoring for the large scoring at the end of each even round. So you'll alternate small scoring, large, small, and at the end of the game you'll do large scoring again, and then you'll do the final scoring. Okay, so let's say it's the end of the game, 4-player game, and we've already done the large scoring at the end of the game, now we're doing the final scoring. The first thing you do is any ship that's not combated by a warrior loses whatever there. So we would lose $3, we would lose 2 points. Everyone does that. Then you can trade in gold. Every 5 gold gets you 1 fame point up the point track. Then we go to the boatswins. Now, in the large scoring, you probably would have used some of these to move them, hopefully, onto the tiles. But like in this case, these guys couldn't get moved because I have I have scouts and nobles, but I don't have any place to put them. So you must use these guys to place everybody that you can place at the end of the game, at the end of the last round here. But then, if you have any boatswains left, whoever has the most of these is going to get 10 points. And if you tie that person, if you're tied for the lead, you get 10 points as well. Then you're going to look and see who has the most completed islands. So in this case, I just have 2. One here, one there. 2 complete islands. If that was the most, I'd get 7 points. Then we look and see who has the largest island. It has to be completed, but it's the largest completed island. That person will get 5 points. Then we come down to the feeding of the Vikings. And then we have the fishermen here. Remember we told you to score later? For each of these fishermen, they feed 5 Vikings, including themselves. And you have to feed the ones that are still even here. So at the end of this game, I've got 15, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 total Vikings. Each one of these guys feeds 5. So I've only fed 10 Vikings. And we see here on the player aid, for every Viking I was not able to feed, I lose a point. So I would have lost 5 points. But let's say I had a ton of fishermen and I overfed. You'd get 2 points for every Viking overfed. And the final thing I forgot to tell you is that when you're bidding or buying these different Vikings, if you don't have enough money, you can always borrow fame for money. So if I needed $2 more to get someone I needed, I could go back 2 points, borrow $2, and buy stuff. But again, you're playing over all of those rounds, 6 rounds. You're doing small scoring, large scoring. Whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. Now there is an advanced way to play the game. You can add or subtract any of these rules. The first has an auction. So instead of putting the meeples out, the Vikings out in this order, as usual, from 0 to 11, people bid around the table, and whoever bids the most money pays that money to the bank, and then they get to select which color goes from highest, starts at the highest and works its way down, and then the next player gets to say the next colors, and then the next colors, and the next colors. So it starts as an auction, so essentially winning the bid allows you to put the ones you want to be the most expensive for that round, and so on and so forth. The boatswains only are able to put 1 Viking no matter what. So instead of doing all of one color or one of every other color, you can only place 1, which makes it a little bit harder, of course. And then you have these special tiles where there's only 4 of them available per round, and you only get them when you buy the most expensive Viking left on the board. And they do different things, like this case, this person gets to use the boatswain as it was the basic game, which was put all the Vikings of one color or one of every color, and then after this is used, it goes away. Something like this is like, oh, at the end of the game, this counts as a boatswain towards the most, so you might get the most 10 points. This guy is for every unthreatened noble, you'll get a point. For every unthreatened goldsmith, you get an extra buck. At the end of the game, every $3 is worth 1 point instead of 5. And the scout gives you a 1 point for every unthreatened scout. And the noble 1 point. So it's just ways that will help you sort of cater your strategy in a different way. All right, well, there's Vikings. Now, usually the European strategy games are not my favorite genre, although I do enjoy quite a bit of them. This one I really like. This is an excellent game, and here's why. First of all, I love the mechanism of the buying the different Vikings, and the way that when that wheel spins, when the cheapest one's grabbed, the other ones will get a lot cheaper. So, you know, when it's your turn, you have so much to think about because the tiles are random every round, and the amount of different types of Vikings are random every round. And so depending on what you're doing and what you built even before, you've got to think, okay, well, wow, there was a lot of fishermen in the first round. There's maybe not going to be so many coming up later, so I might want to grab the only one that's there now. But man, the tile there stinks. I'm going to have to get a gray boatsman to put him on a tile later. So there's really a lot. It's a pretty simple game mechanically. It's not hard to teach. It teaches pretty quick. But even within those limited rule sets, there's still a lot to think about, and I really like that. There's a lot of forethought to think about what's going to happen in future rounds. Which tile and Viking group to buy. You might really need that Viking, but man, that tile stinks, and you don't have any great boatsmen. It's about to be large scoring, so there really is a lot to think about here, and I really like it. I like how those ships that come out that at first they seem really bad, but hey, if you put the time to get some warriors there, they actually are good for you because you end up getting the money or the points. And there's just so many ways that you can go. You could try to hoard the fishermen and try to overfeed and get maybe 10 or 12 extra points there at the end of the game. You could try to grab, get everyone lined up and get those scouts that get multiple points in multiple rows. There's so many different ways you can go in this game. I really like it, and it's very kind of puzzly a little bit with the different tiles and trying to figure out, okay, I can only put this adjacently. Where am I going to put it? Am I going to put the Viking on it, or am I going to put them away for later? And then where should I put this tile? It's kind of puzzly, and I like puzzly games, which is probably why I like this. And again, that mechanism of buying and things getting cheaper is really good. The sweet spot for this game is probably about 3 players, I would believe. So because with 4, you're only getting 3 Vikings per round. Okay, with 2 players, you're getting 6 Vikings per round. And vice versa. So with 4, it's pretty cutthroat because if you really have to decide which Viking you really, really need the most, and just go for it, because by the time it comes back around to you, chances of you having that Viking the other one that you really want being there, probably isn't going to be there. So it's a little more chaotic, a little more, you can't plan ahead as much. You just got to go for right now. Where with 2 players, since you have so many more, it's a lot more open. You have a lot more chances of doing 1, 2, or 3, planning 1, 2, or 3 buys in a row. So I think 3 is probably the sweet spot, but I wouldn't ever turn down a game of any player count here. So overall, very impressed. Love the components, love the little Viking meeples. I also love games that have a basic version and an advanced version. I probably will always play this basic the first I'm playing with anyone who's playing for the first time. And then after that, if anyone's played at least once, we'll play with the advanced. I like being able to add in any of those rules where you do the auction, or the boatsman only puts 1 Viking no matter what on, or in those special tiles seem like the coolest thing, because that will kind of guide you down a different strategy and kind of force you to maybe a little bit more handily on one thing or another. So overall, for a Euro strategy game that plays in 60 minutes or less, excellent, excellent game. You gotta check out Vikings from Z-Man Games.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.